how would you assess the importance of investor protection laws to foreign and domestic investors in the private sector? Open floor.
Concern us, I mean, as a local investor, there is no protection. I mean, what happens and won't happen until today is that all the investments can be fell out because of a new regulation is going to take in place because they have to fulfill any European regulation or something. But until the previous day, they used to, let's say, support a regulation that they do know that is fault one. Based on our experience, a lot of frameworks, legal frameworks that we try to follow stop to an end without any continuing any effort from the side of the government. Talking always from our experience. The environment of the investors must be clear. I want to invest, I want to know what is the tax regime, I want to know what is the protection, and this is what we need also for our case.
From my own perspective, I mean, I think I've already bashed, the legal systems enough in the countries and emphasized.
We're not going to complain if you want to do it again.
Emphasize the importance of improving the situation there. But look, I think in general, in the Western Balkans, I mean, all of the governments that at least I'm talking to understand that they need to have private sector investment, whether it's from their domestic investor base, or in particular to get FDI in. I mean, all of them realize that they need this in order to try and improve the employment situation and spur economic growth. So in general terms, I mean, there's a receptiveness and openness to try and get the investors in. The only way that you can do that is if there's some semblance of protection. So that's a work in progress. I mean, each and every single one of the countries in the Western Balkans, again, in my portfolio, Slovenia and Croatia are already members of EU, but all of the other countries, without exception, have the policy goal and the policy aspiration to become part of EU, which has certain standards for investor protection. Now that being said, I mean, we often find ourselves in the position where we are acting as the broker between the government and the private sector, because we're kind of a hybrid animal. What I didn't mention before is that IFC it's created by its articles of association, in which member governments are free to come and join and actually subscribe to shares of IFC. So we have 160 different shareholders, which are the governments of the world. It more or less matches what UN membership is, with some exceptions. So we ultimately report to the board of directors, which is made up of representatives of the countries. So on the one hand, we have government, who is the shareholder. And then second, they know because of our mandate and our articles that IFC is investing not only to make a profit in a particular country, but with an eye on making sure that there are investments that create jobs in an environmentally and socially sustainable manner. So they trust us perhaps a little bit more than purely private players. But at the same time, I mean, we are investing in privately owned companies and projects. That is our client base, and that is really the reason that we exist. So we fully understand, the private sector perspective, and do everything that we can to try and make sure that the laws and regulations and systems are conducive for private sector players operating. So we're often playing this role as a bridge between the governments in a particular country as well as the private sector player, trying to facilitate conversations, getting access to policymakers in order to try and explain things, or when there's a dispute, try to facilitate that resolution. So that's a role that we're in fact established for.